Okay, so next we are going to ink our plate. So the first thing we're going to do is take our plate off of our sketchbook, or off of our sketch, I mean. There we go. You just put the sketch aside, peel that tape off there. And then I just have a piece of newsprint down here that I'm going to keep my desk area clean with. You might want to save the newsprint for proofing on, and instead of using newsprint, what you can do is you can grab some old newspaper, or you can use some junk mail or something like that. Just something that that you can get a little bit messy with. The reason I'm using the newsprint is so you can see a little bit better what I'm going to be doing. So as you can tell, I'm wearing some nitrile gloves now. I've already got them dirty, so this can be a pretty messy process. You might want to, make sure that you are doing this somewhere that you can make a mess. So if you want to go outside and do it, that might be a good idea. Otherwise, do it somewhere that you're not going to ruin carpet or something like that. Art making can be messy, so be prepared to get a little bit messy with it. So again, the black ink, we're going to take some of that black ink, and we're just going to squeeze a small amount out onto our plate. Not a very large amount, like you're loading up your toothbrush amount. And then close that. Take one of our cardboard pieces that we made, and what you're going to do is you're just going to card that ink across our image. So across the whole plate. I like to get it over the entire plate, not just across where the image is, just because it can leave this kind of gray sort of plate tone in the background. And I like it, if it's going to show up, then I want it to show up everywhere, not just in kind of select areas. So I'll go across the whole plate. Also change the angle that you do this at. That way you can be assured that you are pushing it into those little grooves all over your image. So change the angle that you scrape that ink across in. Once you have it scraped up all over your plate, scrape as much of it off as you can. So we're now removing the ink from the surface. And I'm not putting a ton of pressure down. I'm just taking as much of that ink off as I can. This will make the wiping process a little bit easier if we've scraped up a bunch of that ink. Okay? So scraped up a bunch of it. Now take that little rag that you got, and we're going to wipe the plate. So what I do is I take it and I try to get like a smooth-ish clean spot on it, and then fold the rest of it behind it so it kind of makes like a little ball. And then what I'll do is first I'll kind of do this little push and twist motion. And what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make sure that that ink gets pushed into all those little lines that I scratched into the plate. So a little push and twist all over our plate. Set that down. And then find another clean-ish area and do the same thing. So kind of find a flat spot, ball it up behind it so it's a nice little flat ball. And instead of pushing and twisting, I'm just kind of removing the ink. By burnishing with the t-shirt. And you'll start to see your image kind of showing up a little bit better as we remove the ink from the surface. So the one thing I want to do is I want to avoid over wiping, because if you over wipe, what you'll end up doing is you'll start pulling the ink back out of all those lines of our image. But we just want the ink off the surface to clean the smooth parts of our plate. And leave the ink pushed in the other areas. Right. So take a look, see if you missed any spots, make sure that that ink is everywhere that you mean for it to be. I think I got a little ink on the back of my plate, but that's okay. And then I also like to clean the edges of the plate too. So what I'll do is I'll take some paper towels and I'll just kind of straight across those edges. See, it starts to pick up some of that ink that's on the side. You'll want to do this relatively quickly because it is water-based ink. It will dry quick, and we want the ink to still be a little bit wet for when we're printing. So that's it for inking our plate. Next, we'll start to print.